Issei Teppei is a skilled swordsman who lives with his mother and father. While returning home one day, he finds that his parents were killed in an unknown car accident. 2 months later, he decides to accept the adoption of his grandfather, Isshin Arima, head of the wealthy Arima conglomerate. On the way there, he saves the Princess Charlotte Hazelrink from a group of thugs. He arrives at the Arima building late, where Isshin introduces him as the Arima group's successor, much to his shock. Several party guests laugh at his untidy appearance, but Isshin is proud that it was because he was saving the Princess Charlotte. His grandfather later explains that his mother was originally the successor, whose death they suspect was not an accident. By announcing him as the new successor, they may be able to weed out enemies within the group. Teppei is uncomfortable at the lavish party, where he meets Vincent van Hassen, royalty from the Filmish Principality, and his young daughter Maria, who helps him calm his nerves. Teppei later sees a woman at the courtyard practicing her fencing, so he excitedly runs over to her to spar with his own wooden sword. His grandfather and Vincent then arrive and introduce the woman. She is Sylvia van Hassen, Vincent's daughter and Teppei's fiancée. Teppei is brought to his new home, a giant and lavish mansion, complete with his own set of maids. He tells the head maid, Yu, that he is worried about his arranged marriage with Sylvia, but she replies he is free to refuse the marriage at any time, but that Isshin is confident in both of their abilities. The next day, he transfers into Shuhu, an elite school where the country's richest students attend. He attracts attention due to his Arima name, much to his exasperation. While running away from the students' prying eyes, he bumps into Saika, the president of the society club, who is unaware of his association with Arima. She scolds him for his improper attire, but apologizes for bumping into him. Teppei later introduces himself in class, and all the students similarly try to crowd him and get on his good graces. He meets one of his classmates, Haruhiko, who is overzealous in his introduction. Here he also meets Charlotte again, and is happy to see a familiar face. He accidentally pushes her down, just in time for Sylvia to see them, and she runs away in embarrassment. Teppei wants to apologize, so Charlotte brings him to Sylvia's fencing club, where he instantly notices that Sylvia is not going all out due to the low level of her opponents. Charlotte volunteers for Teppei to fight Sylvia, and she challenges him to a duel. When Sylvia wins their fencing duel, she asks Teppei to fight her in his natural style. Yu appears to deliver Teppei's sword. They duel again, where Sylvia's fencing and Teppei's life stance are evenly matched, but Teppei admits defeat. This duel earns him Sylvia's respect, but Saika leers at him from afar. Charlotte and Sylvia then bring Teppei to join the society club, where most of the school's most elite and renowned students gather. There they meet Saika, who refuses him entry on account of his rough behavior and being the mere son of a soba shop owner. This angers Teppei, so Saika says that he has a week to fix his behavior and present himself at the club's party in a week's time. Over the next few days, Charlotte and Sylvia tutor him in table etiquette, dancing, and walking. However, despite their best efforts, Teppei's etiquette is still insufficient for the party, but Yu suggests that he simply apply the discipline and etiquette he learned as a martial arts practitioner, and they agree. Teppei performs spectacularly at the party, earning him admiration from several students. During his dance with Charlotte, she remarks that his hand is warm and is the hand that saved her. Saika watches him from afar, annoyed at his efforts so far. She reluctantly gives him a pass for now, but poses a second task for him. He must host his own party in a week, and then she will decide his admission into the society club. Saika struggles to find design inspiration and is irritated about why she keeps thinking about Teppei. Meanwhile, Teppei wonders why Saika hasn't been around lately, and her two friends explain that she is often busy with being both a designer and a model, which amazes Teppei, but comments that she is quite a loudmouth. Saika appears to yell at him for saying that, and she says that she will be attending the debut of a fashion show for her new designer line. There will be an interview about her high school life right after, which she reluctantly has Haruhiko fulfill the role of a character reference. On the way home from school, Teppei wonders why Saika bears such ill will towards the Arima name, so he visits his grandfather to find out why. The next day, Haruhiko has caught a cold due to staying up all night memorizing the material for the interview, so Teppei goes in his stead. When he appears at the gala event, Saika is annoyed to see him, but understands the gist of the situation. They later attend the interview together, where she constantly steps on his foot when he gives unflattering or undignified responses. However, when Teppei praises her for being earnest and hardworking, she is touched. During dinner, Tepe says he understands why she hates the Arima family. Her grandfather, the head of the Haojuan family, who ran the Arima family's finances, had an affair with his grandfather's wife, leading to the rift between their families. This caused her own family's business to suffer due to Ishin's interference. To make amends, Tepe shows her a paper granting stock to the financial group, and the two make amends. Saika gladly accepts Tepe's kindness, but says he still isn't off the hook with having to host a party. The next day, Saika suddenly finds a burst of inspiration and begins designing again. Tepe still has trouble deciding on a party theme, and Haruhiko suggests something quite risque. Charlotte arrives and invites Tepe out in the upcoming holiday, and she also later asks for Sylvia's blessing. Sylvia talks with her father, who asks if she is getting along with Tepe, but she hastily says they are just mutual disciples of swordplay. That night, Sylvia calls Charlotte, telling her to take care of Tepe. The next day, Sylvia and Tepe meet in front of a statue of Hachiko. However, they board her private plane and go to the real destination, Osaka. The two enjoy themselves by shopping, eating, and going to a dog cafe. Tepe talks about how he misses his mom's cooking, and Sylvia invites him onto a Ferris wheel. She tells him not to say he loved his mom, but that his family is still with him in his heart. So he should say love. She asks if he plans on marrying Sylvia, but he is still uncertain. She says that they were childhood friends long ago, and she once wrote a letter to God to give her mother back, who died in an accident. This caused her father to break down in tears and gifted the young Sylvia a locket of her mother. Tepe is saddened and realizes that even being fabulously wealthy does not cure sadness. When they get off the Ferris wheel, Tepe comes up with an idea for his party. Charlotte suddenly hugs him from behind, asking him not to forget about her, and she apologizes for saying something strange. Meanwhile, Sylvia practices her fencing with tears in her eyes. Tepe brings the girls, Haruhiko, and two other guys to the hot spring for his party. They are all shown to their rooms, but Yu is conscious about sharing a room with the other girls, as she only sees herself as a lowly maid. They enjoy themselves in the bath. The guys on the other side of the bath begin fantasizing about the girls' naked bodies. One of them becomes overeager and forces his way in, but he is hastily defeated. Soon, both Haruhiko and the other guy fall victim to traps until only Tepe remains. He throws himself into the hot spring, and he is quickly apprehended and scolded by Saika and the rest. Although Saika is still angry at them, they decide to enjoy the rest of the night, playing table tennis, shopping, eating, and singing karaoke. That night, Saika expresses her approval of Tepe joining the society club. The four girls, Charlotte, Sylvia, Yu, and Saika, realize they all have feelings for Tepe, and they form a hot spring pact to have no hard feelings for whoever wins his affections. Charlotte asks Tepe if she can dine at the Arima Hills suite, and he agrees. Suddenly, a man parachutes onto the school, attracting several students. The man introduces himself as Hartman, a renowned businessman from Hazelrink Principality, with ties to the Arima group, and Charlotte's fiancé. He greets Charlotte with a kiss to her hand and meets with Tepe. He excuses himself, but Charlotte is in visible discomfort. Tepe invites her to the Arima Hills the next day, and her mood improves. That night, Sylvia overhears her father talking about missile silos being constructed by both the Hazelrink and Filmish principalities, which he denies any knowledge of. Sylvia relays this information to Charlotte the next day, and Saika, who overhears their conversation. Saika adds that certain tabloids say that something will happen at the Arima Hills tonight. While Tepe makes dinner preparations at the hotel, he meets Hartman, who has come to meet with Ishin. At the same time, Charlotte receives a text from Tepe to meet him at the rooftop in an hour. During the meeting with Ishin and Hartman, Vincent arrives as well, and they discuss the matter regarding the nuclear warheads allegedly being constructed, and they suspect a third party is behind the rumors. Meanwhile, Charlotte arrives at the rooftop, but she is attacked. The power goes out in the hotel, and Tepe, Ishin, and the others realize that they are being attacked. Terrorists storm the building and take Ishin, Vincent, and Hartman hostage, while Charlotte is held in a separate room. Josephine, Hartman's assistant, reveals herself to be the mastermind behind the attack. Meanwhile, Yu and the other maids work to regain control of the Arima Hills security system, while Tepe volunteers to go to the hotel himself. He is joined by Sylvia, having heard of the attack from Saika. They are attacked en route by several other terrorists, but they arrive safely, meeting the Arima group's private security. Meanwhile, Charlotte speaks to her captors, who harbor disdain towards the Arima group for living in luxury. Charlotte tries to sympathize with them, but says there is no way she could understand their plight. Tepe and Sylvia gradually defeat the terrorists, with Yu guiding them throughout the hotel. Josephine and the others are confused that the media is not investigating their takeover of the Arima Hills, but unbeknownst to them, Saika's media division has taken control, downplaying the event as a simple power blackout and redirecting attention to a nearby idol concert she debuted. When Hartman tries to take out Josephine himself, he is shot and killed. Josephine reveals that they are the Prus, and their goal is to embarrass the Arima group. She then gives the signal for her men to withdraw. Tepe and Sylvia arrive to reunite with Ishin, but he is heartbroken to learn that Hartman has died. He races to find Charlotte, but she warns him that bombs have been planted all over the building. Yu watches over them through the cameras, and to her horror, sees the bombs activating. Tepe and Charlotte are left behind at the hotel, while Yu manages to locate all 6 of the bombs. Her only choice is to do a complete reformat of the database, which Ishin gives her permission to do, as all the data is backed up in his mind. With only 20 minutes to defuse the bomb, the Arima security group cannot make it in time to defuse all of them, so Sylvia goes with Saika back to the Arima Hills, despite her father's protests. Yu relays the bomb's locations to Tepe and asks him to disarm the bomb on the mall floor. They encounter some of Charlotte's captors from earlier, but she says they were rather friendly to her. Sylvia and Saika find the bomb, but they do not know which wire to cut between the red and blue. As the bomb ticks down to 10 seconds, Sylvia cuts the red wire, corresponding to her lucky color for the day, while Tepe shoves the bomb down a trash chute, which Yu says was the correct decision. With the crisis averted, they bring news to Charlotte of Hartman's death. She mourns his passing, as even though the marriage was arranged, she tried her best to like him in the end, and is happy he died defending Ishin and Vincent. She is then sent home in a limo, but the driver is shown to be Hartman, who has somehow survived. Ishin and Vincent soon arrive at the Arima Hills. Yu embraces Tepe, while Vincent embraces Sylvia. However, they are horrified to learn that Charlotte was picked up by an unknown man. Charlotte's real escort has yet to arrive. Her car suddenly stops, and she is shocked to see Josephine and Hartman, who is still alive. Josephine remarks that Hartman's plan was only half successful, as she placed Charlotte into a deep sleep. The others learn through security camera footage that Hartman was the one responsible, realizing it was all an elaborate ploy. Charlotte awakens on the train, and she sees Hartman, who says all will be explained soon. She is then guarded by the 2 friend captors from before, and she later learns that the train is bound for Russia. Meanwhile, Tepe is depressed at being unable to help, but he is scolded by Saika, who asks him where his determination and spirit from the party and hotel rescue went. She kisses him, asking him if this is truly the Tepe she fell for. Sylvia sees this and similarly scolds him as well. She intends to rescue Charlotte herself without his help. The 2 girls then leave the rest to Yu, who comforts him gently and says there is still time. Back on the train, Josephine is incensed that Hartman is keeping Charlotte around. She confronts Charlotte in the shower, calling her a whore. Tepe has found newfound resolve after remembering his parents, and he prepares to accompany Sylvia to rescue Charlotte. Before Tepe leaves, Ishin gives him a sword and his blessing to rescue Charlotte. Ishin notices that Yu is worried for Tepe as well, knowing that she loves him, and he embraces her. At the airport, Tepe bids farewell to Saika. She asks him if he would also come to her rescue if she were kidnapped, and he said he would, causing her to remark he is pretty damn cool. Tepe arrives at the Filmish Principality, where the train is expected to pass by the next day. Vincent invites him and Yu to a party, and he agrees. That night, he sees Sylvia in the courtyard, and the 2 have a duel for old time's sake. When Sylvia defeats him again, she kisses him, saying that she likes strong men and would not accept someone she has beaten twice, challenging him to be stronger. The next day, Sylvia and her cavalry company charge the train, while Alfred on a motorcycle attacks from the back. Hartman has Josephine secure Charlotte, while he instructs his men to fend off the cavalry. A cannon barrage blows a hole in one of the carriages, allowing Tepe to infiltrate it from above. He disables the main carriage, but he is startled when Josephine enters the room with Charlotte in tow. She pushes Charlotte to Tepe and aims to shoot them dead, viewing her as a hindrance, but she is suddenly shot from behind by Hartman. Hartman explains that long ago, he visited the Hazelrink Principality to pickpocket, but when he was caught by Ishin, he is publicly embarrassed. He thus dedicated his whole life to embarrass Ishin all the time and to take everything away from him. A struggle ensues, and to Charlotte's horror, Tepe is shot, and he falls out of the carriage. Hartman reveals his plan is to make it look like he saved Charlotte from a runaway train and kidnappers. But Charlotte says there is no way people would believe him. She begs him to allow her to seek medical attention for the injured Josephine, and he allows her if she can do it herself. Meanwhile, Tepe is caught by Sylvia and Alfred, but because the motorcycle they are riding can't accommodate 3 people, to decide who among the 2 will continue on, Tepe beats Alfred in rock, paper, scissors. Charlotte brings Josephine over to her 2 captors, who to her surprise have medical training. They explain that they were in medical school, but eventually could not afford the tuition. This weighs heavily on Charlotte, who wishes she could do more. Hartman arrives to capture her again, and she runs away from him, especially as she learns that Sylvia and Tepe are closing in. Tepe boards the train. He cuts the link between the main car and the rest, leaving just him, Charlotte, and Hartman in the engine car. Hartman aims a gun at Tepe and fires off warning shots. Tepe tries to tell him that he was not humiliated, but that Ishin was trying to encourage him to be better. Using all the lessons he's learned over the past few months, Ishin says that only you can decide how far you will go, and that hard work will surely pay off in the end. An enraged Hartman detonates a bomb on the main carriage, and he reveals that the one who killed his parents was none other than himself. Remembering Charlotte's words on the Ferris wheel, Tepe declares that his parents live on in his heart. The engine room reaches critical levels, forcing the 3 of them to leap out. Tepe and Charlotte are caught by Sylvia, while Hartman is caught by Alfred, who promptly dumps the former into a nearby river. As Hartman sinks down into the riverbed, he smiles. They return to school, where Saika has arranged a return party for the group. Tepe dances with the girls one by one as he reflects on what his parents would think of him now.